What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another podcast episode. Today, we are going to talk about solo traveling. And I went on one of my first legit solo trips a couple weeks ago. And I wrote down 13 reflections, and I'm going to share them with you guys. And I'm going to share with y'all why I went on a solo trip and why you should too, if you're single or in a relationship. So let's dive right into this topic. Let me put my Palo Santo down. Hold on. So a couple weeks ago, I took a solo trip. It was nowhere crazy. It was literally car distance away. I drove to Dallas, and I've traveled before by myself. I live alone. I've moved to a new city by myself. I have no problem doing things alone, but I've never went and stayed at a hotel by myself and had no one else with me. And so that's what I mean by solo traveling. I really mean going somewhere by yourself. So I went to Dallas and I drove there. It was like a 3-hour drive there because I live in Austin. And I got there. I went to the spa. Before I tell you the reflections, I'm just going to obviously tell you about the trip. I went to a spa. It was such a beautiful day. It was Super Bowl Sunday, actually. And there was no one in the spa at all. There was a couple of girls, a couple of guys, and I actually met some people. I had some conversations that I probably wouldn't have had if I was with someone else. I mean, we might have. Me and my friends, we talk to people, but it's just different when you're by yourself. You have no one's energy around you kind of with you. And so the fact that you're alone, you might have conversations with people that you don't think you would have if you were with someone else. After the spa, I drove to my hotel room. I stayed in a really nice hotel in downtown Dallas, and I checked in. I did valet. It was so beautiful. I got to my room. I took a little nap. I jumped on the bed. I took a shower, blasted music. And my inner child was so happy because growing up, I stayed in a lot of hotels because I did competition cheerleading, all-star cheerleading to be exact, okay? Shout out to Extreme Stars. They are no longer a thing, but that was literally my whole childhood growing up. And so we stayed at hotels a lot. And so that's what hotels always remind me of is cheerleading, which, is connected to my inner child. So I had a lot of inner child healing on this trip by myself. After I went to the hotel room, I did have some friends in Dallas, but I wasn't going there for them, if that makes sense. I went there for me, but he just so happened to be throwing a Super Bowl party. So I went to his party that night and it was great. And then I went back to my hotel room before midnight and just hung out by myself, vibed, listened to music, and went to sleep. I keep smiling so much that my cheeks hurt. By the way, today's 2/2/2. Such a powerful day. Such a powerful day. And then the next day I woke up. Oh my gosh. It was a vibe. I woke up, I explored Dallas. I had absolutely no plans at all. I went to this art district place. Long story short, found this really cute cafe. Again, had no idea what to expect. I didn't even know if Dallas, if it was a safe area. I just really used it for my intuition. I judged if I felt it was safe through my intuition. And my intuition said yes. And so I went with it. If y'all follow me on YouTube, I have some actual tips on living alone for safety reasons. Highly recommend that video. And kind of similar, you can use those tips for when you're traveling. One of the biggest things, before we get into the reflections, one of the biggest things that I look for when I travel, if this place is safe, I literally just I look at many things, but one of the things I really look at is the looks of the environment. So are the sidewalks clean? Is it put together? Are the stores kind of newer looking? Is it put together? Those are some things that really tell. You could just look at the environment and really see if it's, in my opinion, if it's safe or not. But go with your own judgment for sure. Literally go with your own judgment. Your intuitive guidance is what I should say, not judgment, intuitive guidance. So yeah, I just had like myself a day the next morning. It was a Monday. I took myself shopping and I was just so curious. I was talking to these really cool people, had some great deep conversations. And then I drove home. And if I could do it again, which I will do a solo trip again, I would make it 2 days for sure. I feel like one day was not enough because I checked in around 3 and I left at like the hotel around 10, 11. So it just was not like enough time for me to fully take advantage of being by myself. That was a long intro. So, solo trip reflections. First thing I wrote down was, oh, this was a breakthrough I had. So, you will never be left alone by your friends or loved ones because you'll always have yourself. So, after the Super Bowl party, my friends went out and I went to the Super Bowl party by myself. And so they were leaving to go somewhere else. I was waiting for my Uber. My like inner child was like, "Oh no, they're all going to leave me. It's dark out. Like, I don't know this area. What if like my Uber doesn't know where to pick me up?" Had all these thoughts like racing through my head, and I was like scared that they were going to leave me. And it's because when I was younger, I've had friends that did that to me. I had friends that literally left me. With that being said, I realized in that moment that people can leave, but because I have myself, I'm never going to be alone. I'm never going to be alone. So, next reflection I wrote was there is nothing wrong with doing nothing when you're traveling. Just because you aren't doing something every second of the trip doesn't mean it's a bad trip. Oh my gosh. So, as I was on the trip, I had these thoughts like, I just want to lay down and not do anything. And then I had a little guilt come up like, oh no, you have to be doing something. You're traveling. You have to be like doing excursions, doing this, doing that. When in reality, sometimes doing nothing is the most productive thing that you can do. Yeah. Next, if your friends or anyone in your life doesn't agree with you or want you, I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. If your friends or anyone in your life doesn't agree with you or what to do or want to do what you are doing, that's okay. Okay. If anyone in your, sorry, this is the last time I'm saying this. If anyone in your life doesn't agree what you're doing or what you want to do, that's okay. So let's unpack that a little bit. What I mean by that is if you want to do something like go on a solo trip, no one wants to go, that's okay. Still go. Still go. You don't have to wait for others to be ready because if you wait for others to be ready, you might be waiting forever and you might miss really fun opportunities and experiences. Like that's what life's about, man. Life's about experiencing, fully experiencing. And like I really invite you to ask yourself, what does that mean to you? What do you really want from life? Do you want to sit on your couch every weekend because you work so hard throughout the week? Or do you want to channel that energy into something else and move your body, get up, go travel, go for a hike, go to a new restaurant, go on a new hike, go hang out with friends that you just met in the gym that you kept saying you want new friends and you don't make efforts to reach out to them? Okay, next, have a list of non-negotiables. And if someone doesn't meet the requirement, move correctly. I don't know how this was a reflection from a solo trip, but let's talk about it. Okay. I can't remember why I wrote this. Have a list of non-negotiables. And if someone doesn't meet the requirement, move correctly. Well, what I'll say about this is if you have a list of non-negotiables, and I actually just posted this on my broadcast channel on Instagram. If you're on Instagram, follow me at jessica.tellian. I have a free group. I didn't know what it was called, broadcast channel group. If you hit the link in my bio, or if you go to my Instagram, it says like Daily Mindset Talks. Click that and just join. It's free. And I wrote a journal prompt in there for 222 because today's a very powerful day for manifestation and clarity. And I wrote, make a list of your non-negotiables, whether it's with a partner, like your future man, your future woman, your future whatever, a job, a career, or something that you're manifesting, a house, an apartment, a car, a dog, a career. Make a list of non-negotiables that you're not going to budge for. So you have the clarity and you have the awareness, and so you move correctly. Next, I deserve to be treated like a queen. And you deserve to be treated like a queen. We, us women, deserve to be treated like such queens. And the right man will treat you like a queen. New experiences equals new perspectives on life. That's something I fucking love because every single time I've had a travel experience or just any type of new experience, it's really shifted my perspective for the positive on life. So if you're ever feeling like you're in a rut or you're in a plateau, meaning like you hit a wall, go do something new and you'll gain a new perspective of life. You don't have to do what others are doing in order to fit in. Ooh, you don't have to do what others are doing in order to fit in. Let me turn this page. So I wrote down a breakthrough I had around that, and it says, I stopped drinking 1.5 years ago. Yeah, I stopped drinking about 1.5 years ago-ish. And I do want to talk about that in a podcast, but just not this one. So I wrote down that like my subconscious mind felt like it was awkward to hang out with people who were drinking because I wasn't. Now I realize that I can still be me, regardless if others are drinking or not. But the frequency is felt, and I don't have to judge it and resist the connection with those who are drinking at the time. Like if we're having a conversation, I can still have a good time for me. So I'll share with you this. I don't have a problem hanging out with people who are drinking at all. Like, do you, boo boo? I just don't drink. I choose not to. And again, talk about that in a different episode. But it comes a point where if you're hanging out with people and you don't drink and they're drinking a lot, do you continue to want to be around them? So, okay, let me just share my experience before I try to make something up. I'm like trying to create a story in my head. So I have friends that when we go out, they drink. Like we're out to dinner, they're having a cocktail. Maybe they have 2, maybe they have 3, but their frequency doesn't shift that much because they're not sloppy drunk. And so if I were to hang out with those friends and they were to start getting drunk, my energy just honestly wouldn't want to be around them in that moment. And they would understand that probably the next day because they can't in the moment. And I don't really have friends that get sloppy drunk, so I can't even like say that that's happened in the past 1.5 years. But I will say while I was at the Super Bowl party, some of them, like they were taking shots and all the things, and I just wasn't on that level. And so that's why I decided not to go out after, not because they were drinking, but because I just felt that number one, I was tired. And number two, I really didn't feel like hanging out with a bunch of people who were drinking. That's it. And again, no judgment at all. It's just something I decided. Next up, things are only awkward if you make them awkward. That's with a lot of things. You'll learn what your piece is. Oh, pace. I said piece. You also learn what your piece is, but you will learn what your pace is. What do I mean by that is you'll learn if you're the type of person that needs more rest while doing activities, or if you're the type of person that's go, go, go by solo traveling, by doing things by yourself. That was really good. Okay. You'll become a better decision maker. My intuition became stronger. So if you're solo traveling, your decision making skills will fucking improve. If you're anything like me, us girls, a lot of us girls, you ask us where we want to go out to dinner, don't give us options. If there's any men listening, give us options, okay? Don't just say, where do you want to go? But solo traveling will really make you become a better decision maker because you have no one else to ask but your damn self in the moment. I loved that realization. Sometimes you have to be the one to start the conversation. So I went to brunch the next day and there was a guy sitting next to me and I kept looking at like his stuff. We were sitting at like the bar area. It was at a cafe and he had this notebook that was a Nike notebook. And I liked the notebook and I didn't say anything. And then I thought to myself, Jessica, why don't you give the man a compliment on his fucking notebook? You like it, say something. And so I finally looked at him. I said, I love your notebook. He goes, thanks. I said, where'd you get it? Obviously Nike. But I was curious, like, where? And he said, Nike. I was like, oh, like the home base in Oregon? He said, yeah. I was like, oh, that's so interesting because they just reached out to me because they recruited me for something that I'm so excited to share one day soon. So after I opened the conversation, oh no, my camera's overheating. After we had the conversation, we just had a really great conversation for like the next hour. And so it was just so beautiful to be able to have a conversation with a stranger, and yeah, sometimes you have to be the one to start the combo. Two more, guys, two more. Life is meant to be experienced, not lived. You're meant to experience life, not just live in it. Last but not least, being alone does not mean you are lonely. You can be alone and not be lonely. Yeah, girls, you could be alone and not be lonely. And just because you are alone doesn't mean you're lonely. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please be sure to like, rate, review if you have not already. It really helps the growth of the channel. And I will see you guys in my next episode on Monday, unless I decide to do another voice noted podcast that I did this most recent upload. That was really fun. I get really, really like intuitive messages as I'm just like on the go. So you might see more of that. But talk to you guys later. Bye.